your view on the concept of shared sovereignty.
Well, I think the question which my brother has asked is a very important one. The continued discourse on class and race, ethnicity. The issue which I raised about Marx would have addressed the question of the relations of production internally, not just exchange relations, which the New World Group had emphasized. And we still have class-ridden societies, and there are still issues of ethnicity. But I think it would be fair to say that our societies have moved from a status in the 19th century, from culturally plural societies, where each racial or cultural section had its own relatively distinct pattern of sociocultural integration. And through the fever of history, the workings of the economy, the society, we have gone through a process of heterogeneity. Biology has assisted, and also we are more or less, save and except for maybe Trinidad and Guyana, societies which are broadly speaking homogeneous. And even in Guyana and Trinidad, where you have this an ethnic issue still alive and which finds a manifestation at election time, that there is a shared body, a core of beliefs and values and ideas which help to keep the society together, and where there are no separate sets of institutions for different ethnic groups. So while we still talk about the challenges, we have to look at the progress which has been made. And of course, the analysis, the interface between class and race is one on which there has been tremendous discussion. We don't need to go through it. But just to highlight it, that it is an issue for continuing discussion. It's not only class and race too, it is also cultural questions. And questions which was raised by a comrade sister earlier about the issues relating to women and the role of women, not only historically in our societies, but the interrogation of the issue of women in our society and the great importance of that issue and the growing democratization in the society as a consequence of that, and more women in the marketplace and women playing a greater role, as it should be. All of these things aid the development. And I want to say that in all our discourse today,
do you wish to comment?
Let us not forget that the remarkable progress that we have made since the Second World War and since the post-1930s anti-colonial uprising, because we tend to speak in a manner as though we haven't made a lot of progress and that we want to beat upon ourselves. We have made tremendous progress, and we have a lot of the indices and so on, and poverty has been reduced, extreme poverty, disease, our lifespans are much longer. It used to be at the end of the Second World War about 40-something, 50 years. On an average, now it is 70-odd years. We don't have the extent of the diseases that we had at that time, though we have some other kind of diseases, and so on and so forth. And our wealth has increased, our sophistication, and all of these things. And I think we need to bear all these things in mind when we're looking to improve ourselves, but acknowledge what we have done, what our parents and grandparents have done to help us to put us on a foundation to even lift off more. I think that is important when we have this kind of discussion, because often we tend to think that we haven't done fairly well. But we have done fairly well, but we have much more to do. There's always much more to do. And that's why we have this discussion, to find new ideas and new modalities to see how we can further enhance our civilization. This is how I see the matter in a broad sense. And that's how I'd answer your question, my friend.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Our next question.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Ministers and other distinguished members of the panel. As Prime Minister Gonzalez was talking a while ago, he recalled the work done by people like William Demas and so on. And it occurred to me that I'm not so sure whether we understand that our history has equipped us in the Caribbean. I'm going beyond just the West Indies. It has equipped us, our history, to make a loud noise in the world. I believe that we are equipped to have to say some things to the world, to show the world how things should be done. But I do not know whether we understand this to the degree that we should. I think it has to do with liking ourselves as well. And I don't know that we can like ourselves if we don't know ourselves. And I believe that we ought to go back in that history. Perhaps you'll agree with me that we need to go back into our history. I don't know it is a job for the government as such, but our education system should throw us back to the things that we have done. We are new, but we have done a lot of things. And unless we like ourselves sufficiently and understand what we have within us to take to the world out there, not with arrogance, but with a solid voice, I do not know that we will be fulfilling our mission to the world. And I believe that there is merit in this. We seek external validation to a degree that we ought not to, because we have it here in the Caribbean to change the world.
Professor Beckles,
Please.
Through you, I've been requested that the ambassador from the Dominican Republic is here and didn't come to the microphone, so a little break in the protocol of the proceeding because he would like to make a contribution, and I think he wanted to respond to something that Prime Minister Gonzalez would have said.
Please.
And I know that Prime Minister Gonzalez is up for the task.
I'm very happy.
Okay.
I don't usually argue with ambassadors, but I will make an exception today. I would love the discussion.
The Minister.
Okay, I just wanted to make that prefatory statement.
Bueno, voy a expresarme en español. Lamentablemente, el que no entienda no entenderá, pero me voy a expresar en español. Primero, saludar este magno evento, felicitar.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Let's start again. Get the translation.
I speak English, but I prefer to explain. Yes.
To facilitate the contribution, PM, I will just ask everyone to put on their headphones in the interim while we take another contribution from the floor, and I'll come back to Ambassador. Is that fine, Sir Hilary?
That is fine, ma'am.
Okie doke. Lady in white. 1 minute.
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ida LeBlanc. I am the General Secretary of the National Union of Domestic Employees, the first trade union for domestic workers in the world, I would argue always. Now, we're talking about future of the Caribbean. We cannot talk about the future of the Caribbean and leave out the domestic workers, because if it wasn't for the domestic workers, none of you would be able to come here. Domestic workers, it's people who clean your home, take care of your children, iron your clothes, and most of these domestic workers do that as a lifetime occupation. We have the CSME. I have written to 3 ministers in Trinidad and Tobago asking for a meeting to talk about the CSME. And I have never even got an acknowledgement. Our union was in the forefront in getting the Convention 189 in Geneva in 2011, sorry. And not a mention about that in any newspaper in the Caribbean or Trinidad and Tobago. So we are saying we have to end poverty. We talk about ending poverty in this forum. Let us start trying to eradicate all this poverty that the domestic workers have to live under. women and men, because we have a lot of men who is domestic workers, who are gardeners, chauffeur, watchmen, because we have a lot of rich people in Trinidad and Tobago who live in gated communities. They have to get security. So please, do not treat domestic workers as second-class citizens. They are workers too. We want to see every government implement that Convention 189 in the Caribbean. So far, it's only Guyana has done something like that. And we want to see the other government following them. But our main issue here in Trinidad and Tobago is recognition for domestic as workers. Because our domestic worker could work 50 years with you. You could fire her at your woman fancy. No recourse. That must stop. We want a future where everybody go in. Not some and leave back some. And I want to say too before closing, CARICOM must be accountable to the domestic workers in the Caribbean. We know nothing about what CARICOM doing. So we want to know what CARICOM doing for domestic workers. We want to know about the CVQ to allow them to travel freely. And we want to know about all the national certificates that they have in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean by extension. Thank you very much.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Would any of the panelists wish to comment or respond to any aspect of the gender issue, domestic worker? You all agree? We agree. There's full agreement on that. Okay. Please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Lewis. Thanks to the organizers for the hard work as well as the background staff. We have shown commitment here because we have been engaging our time and our people from overseas and locals are here. I have two proposals. One has to do with the attitudes that affect our young people. I think it's important that we look at the video games they are watching. Some of them promote violence, and we are wondering why we have such high crime. We're talking primary school. In it, the video games reward destruction and reckless driving to get to a point, and they're getting points on it. We need somebody or area to look at that, what internally they're taking in. Because we working towards improving our countries in the region, but with these things may be undermining them. So not only parents, the Telecommunications Union, Dr. Selby Wilson, they listen to the radio and the television programs and they monitor it, look for violence and whatever have you. But we need to know what we're bringing in or what's coming through the internet, because there are countries that block certain things. We have the power to do that. The second issue has to do with food, our health. I don't know how many people have heard of genetically modified foods. Take, for example, something like corn. You cannot grow your corn, take off the corn hobs, and plant those things